Hi everyone. So we have kind of a big energy that's coming through today, and the reason why is because it's really focused on the energy of liberation. Someone's trying to remove themselves, or they're trying to separate from something or put something in the past behind them that they have actually had a very strong bond to. This feels a little bit like I require this thing or I need this thing. And at one point in life, they couldn't imagine their life without the thing because, oh, well, I need it. It's that kind of energy. This can be a thing, it can be a person, it can be a situation. It's going to be different for everybody, but it is this energy of this thing that we once needed. Now we see that we don't need it, and we see that what's actually been happening is we've given away a lot of our personal power to this thing and to the belief that we need this thing in our lives. So let's get into this. If you're new to my channel, my readings are a little different. If you're returning, welcome back. You know how we do. I have my crystal ball here, so I will be scrying. I'm seeing butterfly wings immediately, and that's interesting because that brings me to this card. So that answers that question that I had. So I will start off with this card when I get down here. The first two cards, however, that I want to talk about are these two. These two are interesting because they fell out of a deck when I was setting up, and I knew, okay, this is happening before this reading. This is probably important, so I set them aside. And now that I'm going, I understand what this probably means. Whatever this thing is that we're trying to put in the past, it's something that affected our ability to think clearly or to be present, to think for ourselves, for example. Here what we have is we have the topsy-turvets, and whatever way you turn it, this is a very confusing card. So we may have had this feeling of being confused or feeling like we're getting pulled around in different directions, or that our emotions are always getting tossed around. And one of the things that somebody has come up with is, I have to get rid of this particular thing in order for that to no longer happen. However, this is seeming to be a little difficult for somebody, either on a physical sense or an energetic sense. The reason why I'm saying that is this is the feline. He has these things on his back that are connected very thin, through thin tendrils to something in the past. And this is a card where we're trying to make a personal change, but there's still like hooks in us, right? And this isn't necessarily saying that anybody is doing that on purpose. If it is in fact a person, it's just saying that there's still a little link or a little connection there. And so some of you may be struggling in, if it is a person, disconnecting with the person or not thinking about the person all the time, in which case just give yourself some time. And some of you may be really struggling on putting a particular habit or pattern down. Whatever this is, it does seem to run in cycles or be cyclical. So for example, maybe it is a substance and you have to use a substance every single day, like clockwork. And that's being indicated to me by this, just because this is kind of like a cycle. That guy in the middle there, he's really talking to me about this endless cycle of something. And this endless cycle of something does seem to have a great impact on our perception of the world, on ourselves, and on our life. It may even be required to focus for some people. So that's kind of interesting. Now, the byproduct that seems to be happening over here is something within the solar plexus. This seems to be affecting it's bringing up, okay. It's the process of walking away and taking some of that power back is bringing up an energy here of powerlessness, of possibly fear, of not necessarily being safe, of confusion. Those types of solar plexus energies are coming out because our solar plexus is trying to heal. Again, this is something that has taken away our personal power, and it has taken our self-sovereignty away from us. And so as that's being returned to you, there are energies that we have that are trying to heal. And so that's why that's happening for somebody as a byproduct of this process. Now, I'm moving on down here, and what I'm seeing is I'm seeing this joyful muse inspiration with the butterflies again. This is a change in our own perspective, our own perception. Some of you are trying to get a perspective shift. Others of you had a perspective shift. And either way, both groups, you know that you have to leave this behind in order to get over here. This is like trying to attain a better life for ourselves, or a better emotional place for ourselves. Now, I'm being drawn to the green that's showing up on this instrument, and that's really speaking to me about the heart center. This is causing almost like this brokenheartedness for somebody, not for everybody, but this brokenheartedness energy is coming through really quickly because there's something in here, some sort of structure that's being broken down before it can be built back up. So for some of you, this thing has actually created some kind of energy block inside of us, and those energy blocks oftentimes are beliefs, hence a different perception is coming through. There is kind of, okay, so over here, if you've ever gotten a personal reading from me, you know that my, when I do readings, I open up on this side for any spirits that want to come through, and I am feeling that there is a presence over here. There is a message for a couple of you out there that you were inspired to take this action. You asked a particular question, like, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I feel this way all the time? You know, what's wrong with me? One of those types of questions. And they inspired you to see that this thing is the thing that needs to be taken out of your life in order for you to feel more whole and more complete and more empowered inside of yourself. So whatever it was that you were asking about, it was a disempowered energy that is influencing you. And this seems to be one of the big tap roots that disempowerment is basically draining its energy into, right? So that's just for someone. Now, there is this overall sense here that there has to be, in order to remove ourselves and to remove this energy completely, this idea of I'm not just leaving it behind, but I'm going to dominate the energy that has been inside of my life, allowing this to leak out, right? This is where we start to take control of our situation. There is a level of fierceness that I'm feeling as I'm giving that message. I have to be honest, I don't know that everybody is capable of that type of fierceness, and so you're going to have to find some way to get your willpower up, right? It's not easy to remove ourselves from something that was a habit, that was a particular situation, especially when it affects our brain chemicals in the way that this probably did, right? Whether it's that dopamine serotonin cycle that we get into and those crashes and then needing that that refresh, things like that are very difficult to deal with. But someone here, I do feel that you are starting to get kind of pissed off that this is still in your energy in some way. And but it almost feels like someone gets to that place where they're just about to dominate that cycle that's taking place within them now, that is a reflection of the cycle that had been taking place. They're just about to get to that place when all of a sudden maybe they feel shame or guilt, or they just feel this like brokenhearted energy because they're angry about it. The message here that's coming through is to remember that there is an appropriate place for that energy of anger. There is an appropriate place for feeling that sort of, I'm going to control this, right? It's not when we're doing that with others. It's when we're doing that to get over the addictive element. So someone here, that's just a little bit of a perception shift that's coming through in the energy that might be able to help you. Obviously, that's not going to be for everybody. But someone here, it's basically saying, instead of just stopping at this certain point and allowing yourself to fall back down, go that extra step, because that one extra step is what you need to get your willpower up to really like break that tie, to break that habit, to break that pattern. And it's okay that it's uncomfortable. Sometimes we have to surrender to the feeling of being uncomfortable in order to see a process through. And that seems to be the obstacle for somebody here. There's a little bit of an obstacle in getting out to this new light that we're trying to reach in. And so we stay here, right? Now, this card, Surrender, is interesting. This card has 2 butterflies on it. And one of the things that's happening here with this like dragonfly-like being is that she has the spine, and her spine is starting to settle in. So for some of you, this is about your own strength and your own ability to not be moved by the change of energy and not be emotionally toppled every single time something happens in our lives, right? This is about growing strong. So whatever this is, the fact that you're separating yourself from this and you're creating this liberated energy for yourself is a sign that you're becoming a stronger person. This sort of process isn't easy, right? There's little things, there's little experiences that we undergo inside of processes of separation that feel like they're holding us back, and that can emotionally really get to us. They can disturb us. Again, somebody here is having a lot of solar plexus healing taking place. Honor those feelings. Appreciate that those feelings are happening. They're not comfortable. We don't have to only have appreciation for the comfortable things in life. Sometimes we can appreciate the really uncomfortable things because we understand the reason why the uncomfortable thing is happening is because it's actually a sign of healing, right? It's kind of like if you have a wound and you've had that wound for a long time and you've struggled with infection and you were worried that you were going to like lose a limb. When you have that wound and it's cleaned and then it starts to just itch lightly, you know that it's about to heal, right? And that uncomfortable feeling is kind of a, oh, good. And that's kind of the message that's coming through, is that with this feline energy, we have some sort of connection still. We seem to be getting a little upset about it, maybe hard on ourselves about it, maybe upset that we're still thinking about the person, maybe upset that, we're still doing the thing. But recognize how far you've come, right? Recognize that what you're in right now, even being here, is a completely different situation than what you were in back there. You're growing stronger. You're doing the thing. The change that you're looking for doesn't happen overnight, and that's okay. It doesn't have to happen overnight. But if you want it to happen faster, those moments where you get kind of upset about it and you're like, oh, I have to do this thing, don't start looking at the fact that it's not happening and get upset about it and cry about it. Allow yourself to continue that momentum here. That's what dominance, again, is really saying. Some of you, this is an energy of anger, and allow yourself to be angry. Sometimes anger is a great energy to help us change and to help us release things that really should be in the past. Sometimes we need to acknowledge that there are things that we need to be angry about, that we have a right to be angry about. So don't burden yourself with these feelings of, this is inappropriate and this is bad and this isn't spiritual, or whatever people, convince us to say, we're supposed to be plastic people and not real with ourselves. Like, let yourself go through those emotions. That's all part of grief. That's all part of letting go. It's all part of healing. So let's go ahead. Okay, we're going to pull more cards from this. I just had a name, and the name is Star. I don't know if I necessarily am getting it as Star, or if it's, like Tsitlali. I'm sorry if I pronounce that wrong, but it's in some language. The name means star, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at here, very, very awkwardly. Yeah, so I just had that come through as somebody's name. So if that is your name, then this is something to pay extra attention to. Okay. Ooh, I like that. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so the reason why I said I like that is because the card that's coming up now is the Green Woman. If you're watching this at the time that I post it, as spring starts to creep in, one of the things that you're going to notice is that energy really comes forward. Now, if you're someplace, like, for example, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere right now when I'm posting this, you might find that you're moving in cycles with that season. So you're putting something behind, right? And you might go into a little bit of a hermit mode in order to heal something. If you're here in the Northern Hemisphere like I am, you're going to start noticing that as spring comes around, you're going to be reinvigorated in some way. I feel that you have something around you that's going to begin to grow. And for some of you, that's going to be inside, right? You're going to find this reinvigoration for life because now we've taken down this thing that has affected our perception and we've put it away. And we've kind of, again, it's almost that energy of dominance. We've dominated it in some way. So, this is beautiful for many reasons, right? Obviously, because now we're putting something behind us and we're allowing ourselves to step into the energy that we're originally trying to get, which is something that's better for us. But there's this playful element that comes in, and we see that mirrored here in this card, that gnome. He has some work that he has to do, and he might be a little disgruntled about it. He might be a little grumpy about it, but he's going to do it, right? So there's this combination of, there's a lot of work to do, but we know that we have to do it. And I like that she's here kind of softening the edge of this card as she's sitting next to it, because it means that we're going to understand that this is something that we have to do in order to grow, and we're going to find ways to really enjoy it. So, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, everything that you have to do, it's going to be so lovely and you're going to love it, because, we hear that a lot and it's just not real. The reality is life is difficult. The things that we want to push through, they can be very hard. But the fact that this is coming up next to this means that we've grown strong enough to understand that even that hard work that we have to do, whether or not we enjoy it is a matter of perception. And so someone here, again, heavy on the perception changing. They're allowing themselves the space as a person to find beauty in things. what's sitting opposite of this green woman, we have the Lao Mei. And so the Lao Mei is an interesting card here, because if you look at her wings are tattered, and it kind of reminds me of the feline, except for me, it's like the more positive counterpart to the feline card, because she has separated from things, and while her wings are never going to be whole the same way, they're absolutely beautiful now. And that's what someone is going to feel like this experience and the struggle and the addiction or the codependency or the relying on of this thing, and then having to extricate yourself from it through force, right? Through willpower, through sheer determination, and allowing yourself to learn the lessons that took along the way, is changing something inside of a person into something completely beautiful. It's this newfound beautiful strength that's emerging inside of somebody. And this is the process of alchemy. So that's what's coming here with Nellis the Alchemist. You've undergone an entire process of alchemy by doing this. Some of you are aware of that now. Even if you do have a little bit of an attachment still to this thing, you can already tell that you are changing. And so again, just like I said earlier, it's really important to take a step back and recognize those wins for ourselves. Someone here, you may be so down on yourself that it's just kind of important to look at the decision that you made and understand that the person you were 5 years ago would never make that decision. Right? And to understand that it's okay to acknowledge our own growth. In fact, we should do that regularly. When we acknowledge things and when we kind of reward ourselves for the things that we're doing right, that creates momentum to be able to go and do things better. Like, that's not something that someone else needs to give you, right? It's something that we need to give ourselves. And here what we have in the middle of all this is Singer of Connection. There's things that are coming together here. This is a reclaiming of personal power again. We have that number 6 again. For me right now, that number 6 is almost like an inner child number. It is this very beautiful sort of refreshed energy of the child that we were supposed to be. In other words, we're listening to ourselves, right? Maybe you're allowing yourself more time to play. Maybe you're allowing yourself to enjoy the comforts in life, or to enjoy the beautiful things in life, things that you didn't necessarily allow yourself to enjoy before. I do want to say one thing about listening to ourselves here. Because we did start off with the topsy-turvets, which is our presence, our ability to think clearly or perceive clearly was affected by whatever this thing is. When we move away from situations like that and we allow ourselves to be entirely present with ourselves, and when we learn to listen to ourselves, right, rather than say, oh, I feel this way, but I'm going to push that down. There's a difference between I'm honoring this feeling, but I need to not necessarily go with it. I need to go do this thing. And then there's a difference between I feel this way, but I don't even want to look at it, right? There's a difference there. One, we're actually acknowledging it. We're listening to it. We're saying, okay, I understand that I do feel this way, and we're going to go take care of business anyway. And the other one is not even acknowledging that feeling was there. When we do that, we do impact our inner child, right? We hurt that aspect of ourselves, and that can be detrimental in other ways in our life. Someone here is listening to listen to that voice. They're learning to listen to that voice to say, okay, I understand that I feel that way. I acknowledge that this is happening for me right now in my experience, but this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And so we're going to go in this way. They're learning to partner, right? Again, Singer of Connection. They're learning to partner with that aspect of themselves rather than viewing it as, something they have to reject or something that they have to always change. And that's huge. We have a whole thing in our culture where you suck it up and you ignore it and you change it and you battle with it. And the more that we battle with that aspect of ourself, the more we manifest the battle outside of ourself. And so someone here is starting to see that as well. So I love this energy. I think this is a very beautiful energy because not only is somebody freeing themselves from something in their 3D, they seem to be freeing themselves from some kind of internal conflict that they had as well. And this is about surrendering, right? A greater level of acceptance, especially acceptance of the self. So I'm going to pull one more card from this deck. Okay. And we get this, skywriting the fates. So this gave me a feeling of right on time. that this healing process is happening for somebody right on time. Not necessarily right in time, but right on time. This seems to be a lesson that we were going to have. And you have come to this lesson right on time. I don't know why that's important, but that's what's coming through. So I'm going to trust that that is actually important for somebody. And I'm going to leave that there. So whoever this message is for, I hope this resonates with you, and feel free to like this video. And until next time.